Hello and welcome to the Joy of Healthy Eating. I'm Gideon, a raw vegan chef and health educator.
And I'm Ashley. I'm here to help getting out with some of the recipes today.
Thank you. And the last episode, we showed you how to make a bunch of Greek Mediterranean salads. And today we continue with this theme, and we're going to show you how to make an entree and a soup. And our entree is going to be Greek stuffed zucchini. The soup is going to be tomato and basil soup. So, Ashley, let's start making the Greek stuffed zucchini. We're making it first because it needs to go and dehydrate for a while to finish off the zucchini and the meat replacer that's made from nut that's going to be on top of it.
For the Greek stuffed zucchini, you're going to need 2 cups of walnuts. You can soak these 4 to 6 hours. 2 cups of sunflower seeds, also soaked for 4 to 6 hours. 2 teaspoons of sea salt, 2 cloves of garlic chopped fine, 1/4 cup of fresh oregano, 1 cup of sun-dried tomatoes, not regular tomatoes. Make sure you get the sun-dried tomatoes, soaked, drain, and process. 1 onion chopped fine, 1 red pepper chopped fine, 6 to 8 zucchini squash, 2 teaspoons of sea salt, and 1 cup of sunflower seeds.
So let's start making this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our zucchini.
All right. So how many pieces should we cut it into here?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's just about make it.
And then we're going to cut them in half.
Right.
And then cut the insides out here.
Nice work. So while Ashley continue to cut the zucchini and prepare them, I'm going to mix together the nut mixture that's going to be our meat replacer. You know, when you need to blend a lot of heavy nuts, even though you have a very powerful blender, it's hard to do without any liquid. And we don't want to use water because water will always dilute the flavor of the dish. So we use vegetables for moisture instead of water. And what we have here is going to be red pepper. They have plenty of moisture. We have 1/4 of an onion. Wonderful. And this is oregano. It's also going to liquefy. Also, we're going to put a couple of cloves of garlic. You can put just 1 clove if you don't like the taste of garlic. It's not enough garlic to make the dish tasting like garlic. You never really want to have anything taste like a single ingredient. You need to have a blend of many things that not each one of them like dominates the whole dish. I mean, garlic dominant is not good. So we got that. A little sea salt. Sea salt is something that, you know, you can decide to add more or less, depend on your taste. I'm going to taste it first and then see if I need more salt. Because you always want to make sure that you just have enough salt but not overdo it. Too much salt is not really good in your food. These are sun-dried tomatoes. We dehydrated, they were dehydrated as we bought them, and we soaked them overnight in water. So now they are nice and juicy. And unlike fresh tomatoes, the sun-dried tomatoes will bring a lot of flavor without adding moisture, because after all, we need something that will resemble a meat replacer. You can put it in there. Next, we're going to use the nuts. The first thing I'm going to put in there is going to be the sunflower seeds. They have been soaked overnight, so they are nice and soft. And then we put over it our walnuts. They're also soaked overnight. They're nice and soft.
So why are you also using walnuts in addition to the sunflower seeds?
Yeah, that's a good question, because first of all, they complement the flavor in each other. They also complement the budget, because, you know, sunflower seeds are less expensive.
Oh, okay.
But sunflower seeds have a downside, that they are mainly omega-6 fatty acid. And omega-6 fatty acids usually can cause inflammation. So we choose another nut that has a lot of omega-3 in it, and this will balance the sunflower seeds, and therefore the dish is not going to be inflammatory. It's not going to cause inflammation, which is the gate to almost all diseases. So let's go ahead and blend it. You want to blend it on high, and when it's blended enough, when you don't really see any more whole nuts. Well, that was fascinating. Okay, so we take a look, and I don't see any more whole nuts, so this is why I assume it's blended enough. And we're going to take it off. The technique to get it out of the container is go in circle. If you're going to just start pulling it all out, you're going to have a mess. So you just turn it around and get it out.
So it's really like a paste.
Yeah. And basically, it's like a pate. I would call it at this point like a nut pate. I mean, it can be served in all kinds of ways, just like it is, and it's, of course, very tasty. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? We didn't add more salt. We didn't know if it's salty enough. So let's
do a little taste.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Perfect. So we don't need more salt. Wonderful. Good for our blood pressure. So the next thing, if you like it, as I said, it looks like a pate. And if you want to have something that replaces for you like meat, you want to need more texture for it. Jackie, who created this recipe, that's Ashley's mom, she took some of the dry sunflower seeds. These are completely, I mean, they were soaked, but then dehydrated, so they're dry. And then we just break them in the food processor and mix them together with the pate to get more texture to our bite.
So it just sort of breaks it up a little bit. So we're going to add this to the other mixture. And then we're going to fold in sunflower seeds.
Okay, and I have here a sheet for the dehydrator, and I'm gonna put together the zucchini on top. They can be close to each other, they can even touch, there's not gonna be a problem. By the way, when you are making stuffed vegetables, not only zucchini is going to be a right medium for that. What do you think about other things that can work with it?
What about some squash?
Squash will work fine. Also, peppers will work. You know, right now you can buy in the market these little tiny bell peppers, and you can cut them in half, and they're like cocktail peppers that you can feel. That's going to work really good. Okay. I mean, I have room for everybody. Don't worry. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So now we want to fill a pastry bag with the nut mixture. And for this, we have a pastry bag. Like if you're doing this by your own and you have nobody holding the bag for you, which is not a good thing. I mean, you need somebody to hold the bag for you. But if you don't, you can just put it in a cup and fill it up.
Okay. Good tip.
Just so you know you can do it even if you don't have it. A lovely assistant like Ashley. There you go. You don't have to completely fill it. I mean, that's enough. You may not even be, you're not going to be using all of it. If you have leftover, that's great for sandwiches, for wraps. There's tons of things that you can do with it.
How long will this keep in the refrigerator, this mixture?
Probably more than a week.
Okay.
Okay, you can fill him as much as you want. I mean, try and overfill. I mean, you can't go wrong with putting too much of it in there. And if you've never worked with a pastry bag, this is really easy to do. You put pressure on the top with your right hand, and then use your thumb and finger of your left hand to make it go.
And how long will these go in the dehydrator for?
They don't need to be in the dehydrator for very long. I think a couple of hours. I mean, as I said, if you want to make a meal, if you start the meal like we do by putting it into the dehydrator, by the time you're ready to eat, they'll kind of be ready. We just want to, make the zucchini a little softer,
a little tender,
and kind of finish off the meat like it looks like it's been baked or cooked or something.
And what temperature is your dehydrator at?
Wow, that's a good question. There is a lot of versions to how, if you don't want to destroy the nutrition in your food, you want to make sure that you don't overheat it. And what's overheating is debatable. I heard a lot of versions. We believe that the best place to go and look for instruction is from nature. And we discovered that there is one animal in nature that actually dehydrates their food.
Who's that?
I was waiting for you to ask. It's the honeybee. The honeybee dehydrates the honey. I mean, they get into the hive and flap their wing and create wind, and that the honey get dehydrated. And what temperature do you think they dehydrated the food?
I don't know.
95 degrees. So we dehydrate our food at 95 degrees. So it's going to go into the dehydrator. There you go. And by the time we finish making the meal, this is going to be ready. And we're going to go on, take a little break, and we come back. We're going to do the tomato and basil soup.
All right, sounds good.
Don't go anywhere. Watch it.
Welcome back.
Well, it's good to be here, and we're going to continue with our Greek Mediterranean theme. And what we need to do next for our zucchini, we need some tahini sauce to put on top. So tahini, good to talk about it. In this healthy lifestyle, you really have to watch your weight. The oil that you're using. Fat is one of the most important things that you need to control in your diet. There's a lot to say about it, but let's concentrate on what's going to be good fat. In this lifestyle, good fat is considered avocado and sesame tahini. Sesame tahini is a fat that's made from sesame seeds. These are hulled white sesame seeds. You can buy them almost in every store. And we use them to make the tahini. I mean, we're going to turn this into this in just a few moments in here in the food processor. So why is tahini so healthy? Number one, the minerals in it are amazing. It has a whole lot of iron and calcium, two things that people who eat a healthy diet have a hard time finding good sources for. So the tahini gives us all of that and a whole lot more. It's packed full of good stuff. Now, the only problem with oils is if you process them, then they get destroyed by heat. And when you go to the store and you want to buy tahini, you can find some in the refrigerated section. And this oil will be probably less damaged than other tahini, you know, the ones you buy from the shelf. But still, people who make tahini all day with their machines are likely to overheat it. And we want to make sure that we don't heat our tahini to more than 95 degrees. Remember the bees.
For the tahini dressing, you'll need 1 cup of raw tahini, 2/3 cup of lemon juice, fresh, a couple of cloves of garlic, a teaspoon of sea salt, a cup of filtered water, and 2 teaspoons of cumin.
We need to do that. We can do it in the food processor, and it's just going to be ready in enough time before it gets too hot. Just put it in there and turn it on, and just let it be. It will take, I think, something like 10 minutes. Keep going, keep going. Don't turn it off. Leave it alone. Leave it on. After a little bit, it's going to kind of get stuck. That is, it's going to be stuck on the sides of the food processor. So you're going to need to use your spatula to just move it around a little bit. Like here, we just move it around. You can see already how the seeds beginning to break. Now, the reason why we want to make it in the food processor and not, for instance, in the Vitamix, because these seeds are so small and the Vitamix is so strong and powerful that they just jump away from the blade and they don't get processed in there. They do here. So let's keep it swirling. It starts getting there. And while we're doing that, we can start making our tahini sauce.
All right.
So just give it enough time and it will turn from this into this. Okay, so let's make the sauce.
All right.
Okay, put the tahini in. A lot of lemon juice. And then we add to it some sea salt, some cumin. Don't use all of it, maybe a little less so it's not so strong. We can add some more if we need it. And of course you can put the garlic, 1 or 2, depends on how much garlic you like. And then we're also gonna add some water. Ashley is not going to put all the water in because we want to maintain the thickness of the sauce to where I can put it in a squeeze bottle. So
How much water is this getting in?
this is 1 cup,
Okay, so we're gonna probably start with about half this amount.
even less than a half,
Okay.
and then just see what happens.
Okay.
So how thick do you think it is? Yeah, I think it's just perfect.
All right. So you want it sort of the consistency of like a true salad dressing.
Yeah, but it's a thick salad dressing.
Okay.
Like, oh, this is just great. Now, once you have this tahini, you can use it as a base for many, many sauces and dressings and things that you can do in the kitchen.
It's really
Wonderful.
helpful to put it in the squeeze bottle too.
Right, there you go. Ready for action. So, anything else about it? Yeah, this one can keep going on. Oh, that's on. mixed up. It's turned upside down, you know, around for me. But you keep doing it and you'll see how it becomes more and more liquid. And it will turn into sesame tahini or sesame butter. Now, you know, the people that make the sesame seed, the tahini, usually toast the seeds. And why are they doing it? You need to toast the seed so it has no moisture. Because once there is moisture in the seeds, the water is going to spoil it. You see, when you make the oil, what's in that mixture that you see is sesame oil and sesame flour. Sesame flour is actually in the oil, but it is dry because there is no moisture. So if it's completely dry, then the sesame flour is very, very dry. When you add any water to it, it expands like you add water to flour.
Right.
It expands and becomes strong. So this is what's going to happen here, why you got it to be so thick.
All right.
Because you added water. Well, this is almost ready. You just need a little more time in the food processor. We're going to finish it after, but next we're going to move into making the tomato and basil soup. Can't wait.
Yum.
Yeah. Let's make the tomato and basil soup.
All right, let's do it. For the tomato and basil soup, you'll need 2 cups of filtered water, a cup of macadamia nuts. You want us to have these soaked overnight, 2 cloves of garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. Again, it's important to use the sun-dried tomatoes versus the fresh tomatoes, but you'll also need 3 cups of tomatoes, chopped fine, 2 green onions, a cup of fresh basil chopped, and 8 basil leaves. This will be your garnish at the end.
So we add 2 cups of water into the Vitamix. You don't have to measure because the Vitamix has numbers on it. So that's good. That's done.
Okay.
And
Now our macadamia nuts.
yeah, we put the macadamia nuts in there to make it a creamy tomato soup. If you want a tomato soup not creamy, ignore that, but the macadamia nuts is what's going to make it creamy. Since the macadamia nuts, they have been soaked, but they're still very hard. So we just blend them with the water to make sure that they are really creamy.
Okay, so I'm going to look at the consistency here. Make sure it's not grainy or...
I think it's still a little grainy. Maybe you should blend it a
Okay.
little more. Yeah, now it's good. So we can add the rest of the ingredients for the soup,
All right, so
leaving the basil out.
next we're going to put in the fresh tomatoes. Now, what I love about this recipe is it was one of Mom's favorites.
Yeah, she really loved that soup. It was her true favorite. Okay, we have some sun-dried tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes are nice and good and they are very juicy and have a lot of water, but store-bought tomatoes are hardly ever really tasting and have the color of real ripe tomatoes. So by using the sun-dried tomatoes, we increase the color and the flavor. This was cayenne. We like a little heat in it.
And then 2
if
cloves of garlic.
Right. You can add more or less cayenne based on your taste. Now again, blend. Take a look.
Okay.
It's still a little
looks
grainy.
a little
yeah,
nutty.
You still need to keep working on it.
Take it off. Okay. Is it ready?
Getting there. Not yet. Yeah, this is good. Turn it off.
Okay.
And now we're going
gonna-
to add the basil. You can chop the basil by hand if you like to, but to save time, We're just going to put it into the soup here.
And then we're just going to pulse the
Yeah. We
Vitamix
push it
to
the
chop it.
bottom. We push it to the bottom, and then just turning the Vitamix on and off 3 times fast. That's it. The basil is chopped.
All
Now we
right.
can put it into the bowl. Whoa.
All right. Thank you.
We're gonna garnish it here with a little bit of basil leaf, just for the center, and sprinkle some green onions.
Beautiful.
I don't want to turn it too much because it will spill, but that's basically the soup is ready.
All right.
And before we go on, we're gonna go ahead and do our zucchini. So I'm getting the zucchini ready out of the dehydrator. There you go. And what we're gonna do is plate it first. I mean, once you drizzle the tahini on this, you don't want to move it because
Right.
it will make everything dirty. So you need to like set them up first. One by one, takes patience. Yeah, that's all the room we have here, so we'll keep it for a little later. And just go ahead and do that. Oh, that's beautiful.
Getting hungry.
Well, that looks terrific, a wonderful dish.
great.
And we happen to have a few friends in the
That's
studio with
right.
us today. Let's invite them to come
Yeah,
over
come
and
on
taste the
up.
food. Hey, how y'all doing?
Come on, dig
Yeah.
Good.
in. Hope you're hungry.
We are.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this.
Yeah, you can pick it up by the hand.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's going to be better.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we welcome you back to our next episode.